Have you ever walked away from a conversation with a friend feeling slightly off? Nothing dramatic was said, no argument, no insult, yet somehow you felt smaller, less certain, less energized than before. That confusion is exactly where many people get trapped. We're taught that friendship automatically means loyalty, that if someone has been around for years, their intentions must be pure. So when something feels wrong, we ignore it. We rationalize it. We tell ourselves we're being sensitive, ungrateful, or paranoid. Stoic philosophy warns against this kind of blindness. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that people act from ignorance, insecurity, and self-interest, and that wisdom begins with observation, not reaction. Not everyone who walks beside you is walking in the same direction. Some friends don't actively want to harm you, but they also don't want to see you rise beyond the version of you they're comfortable with. Your growth disrupts the balance. Your discipline exposes their excuses. Your success forces them to confront their own stagnation. This video is not about turning you against people. It's not about cutting everyone off or living in suspicion, and it's definitely not about hatred or revenge. This is about discernment. Today, we're going to walk through 9 clear behavioral signs, not opinions, not feelings, that reveal when certain friends do not actually want you to win, and more importantly, how a Stoic responds calmly, quietly, and with self-respect. No drama, no confrontation, just clarity, boundaries, and peace. Stay present. What you're about to hear may explain more than you expect. 1. They feel better when you fail. Some people don't need to sabotage you directly. They only need to feel better when you fall. Pay close attention to how certain friends react when things go wrong for you. You lose an opportunity. You face a setback. You struggle in public. They don't insult you. They don't attack you. They simply become lighter. Their tone relaxes. Their advice comes faster than usual. Their sympathy feels strangely comfortable. At first, it looks like support, but underneath it, there is relief, because your failure restores balance. As long as you were moving forward, they felt uneasy. Your discipline challenged their comfort. Your growth highlighted their inaction. Your momentum reminded them of promises they never kept to themselves. But the moment you stumble, something inside them settles. Stoic philosophy teaches us to observe reactions, not words. Anyone can say, "I'm sorry that happened," but watch what comes next. Do they seem more engaged now than when you were winning? Do they suddenly have time, opinions, and confidence only when you're uncertain? Do they speak with authority only when you're doubting yourself? That isn't compassion, that is comparison. For insecure people, your failure becomes emotional relief. It tells them, "I'm not behind." It reassures them that change is still optional. This pattern shows up everywhere. At work, a so-called friend becomes talkative after your promotion falls through. At the gym, someone jokes when you miss a week of training. In business, they suddenly feel qualified to guide you only after your plan struggles. They don't say they're glad you failed. They don't need to. Their comfort says it for them. The Stoic response is not confrontation. It is not withdrawal driven by anger, and it is not explanation. The Stoic response is awareness. You stop oversharing setbacks with people who feed on them. You notice who respects you in strength, not just in weakness. You keep your inner battles private. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that not everyone deserves access to your inner world, especially those who feel stronger only when you are weaker. Some people don't want to help you stand back up. They want you to stay where you fell. Once you see that clearly, you don't accuse them. You don't argue. You don't dramatize. You quietly adjust the distance with dignity. A Stoic never seeks validation from those who benefit from his defeat. 2. They downplay your wins. Watch closely what happens the moment you share good news. Not later, not after reflection. In the first few seconds, you tell them about a promotion, a breakthrough, a disciplined habit you finally locked in, and almost instantly they shrink it. Must be nice. You just got lucky. Anyone could have done that. Sometimes it's subtle, a half smile, a quick subject change, a story about themselves that pulls the spotlight back. At first you excuse it. They're tired. They didn't mean it that way. They're just being realistic. But realism doesn't rush to erase joy. People who want you to win don't need to fully understand your journey. They don't need to share your ambition, but they respect effort when they see it. When someone minimizes your progress immediately, it reveals discomfort. Your growth unsettles the balance they rely on because your success forces comparison. If you can change, what excuse do they have left? If you can improve, why didn't they? So instead of celebrating, they neutralize. Instead of encouraging, they reduce. Instead of saying, "I'm proud of you," they say something that makes your win feel smaller than it is. Stoicism teaches us not to argue in these moments. You don't defend your effort. You don't list the sacrifices you made. You don't try to convince them it mattered. People who downplay your wins aren't searching for truth. They're searching for relief from the pressure your discipline places on their comfort. This shows up everywhere. In the workplace, when a friend shrugs off your achievement. In fitness, when someone jokes about your consistency. In personal growth, when they dismiss your boundaries as too much. They aren't attacking you. They're protecting themselves. The Stoic response is quiet. You note who celebrates you without competition. You remember who listens without minimizing. You stop seeking emotional validation from those who feel threatened by progress. Your success does not need approval to be real. It does not become more valid when someone acknowledges it, and it does not become less meaningful when someone dismisses it. A Stoic understands this deeply. You don't shrink your light to make others comfortable. You simply stop sharing it where it isn't respected, because the moment someone rushes to reduce your win, they've already told you something important about their place in your journey. 3. They turn everything into a competition. At first, it feels harmless. A joke here, a comparison there, a casual comment about who's doing better. Over time, you notice something unsettling. Nothing is ever just your experience anymore. Everything becomes a scoreboard. You talk about working longer hours, they talk about working longer than you. You mention a new habit, they immediately mention theirs. You share progress, they counter with proof they're still ahead. It's no longer a conversation, it's a measurement. Stoic philosophy warns us about this mindset because comparison quietly destroys peace. The moment friendship turns into competition, trust begins to erode. People who truly want you to win don't need to rank themselves against you. They aren't threatened by your growth. They don't need to reassert superiority to feel secure. But for insecure friends, your progress feels like a challenge. If you rise, they feel exposed. If you improve, they feel behind. So instead of growing with you, they compete against you, and competition changes the tone of everything. Questions stop being curious and start being strategic. How are you? Becomes, how much did you make? What are you working on? Becomes, how far have you gotten? They aren't listening to understand, they're listening to compare. This shows up everywhere. At the gym, workouts become silent contests. At work, achievements turn into status games. In personal growth, even peace becomes something to outperform. Here is the Stoic truth. Life is not a race against other people. It is a responsibility to your own character. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that external comparisons are meaningless because virtue cannot be ranked. Discipline isn't diminished because someone else has more. Integrity isn't threatened because someone else is louder. The Stoic response is not to compete harder. It is to exit the contest entirely. You stop offering numbers. You stop feeding comparisons. You answer simply, without flexing or defending. You redirect the conversation or let it end. Once someone turns friendship into a competition, they're no longer walking beside you. They're watching you, measuring you, waiting to feel either superior or relieved. That's not a relationship built on goodwill. That's a relationship built on ego. A Stoic understands this and chooses peace over proving a point. You don't need to win against your friends. You need friends who don't need to win against you. When you notice someone always keeping score, take it as information, not an insult, and quietly step away from the game. 4. They support you only when you're struggling. At first, this kind of friend looks generous. They show up when you're confused. They listen when you're overwhelmed. They offer advice when you feel lost. During your hardest moments, they seem reliable, present, almost indispensable. But something shifts the moment you regain strength. When you become clearer, more decisive, more independent, their presence starts to fade. They stop checking in. Their encouragement weakens. Their interest quietly disappears. This isn't coincidence. Some people are comfortable supporting you only when you're beneath them. When you're uncertain, they feel useful. When you're struggling, they feel important. Your weakness gives them a role. But when you begin to stand on your own, that role disappears, and with it, their motivation. Stoic philosophy teaches us to separate help from control. True support aims to make you stronger, not dependent. It encourages clarity, not confusion, independence, not attachment. When someone only shows up during your lowest moments, there's often an unspoken dynamic at play. They don't want you broken, they just don't want you beyond their reach. This pattern appears in many forms. A friend who constantly advises you when you're lost, but resents you when you decide for yourself. Someone who listens endlessly to your problems, but grows distant once you stop needing guidance. A person who thrives on being needed, but not on seeing you free. Stoicism views this with calm honesty. Gratitude does not require dependence, and help that creates obligation is not generosity, it is leverage. The Stoic response is not rejection. You don't punish them, you don't accuse them, you don't dramatize the shift. Instead, you adjust the dynamic. You accept help without surrendering authority over your choices. You listen, but you decide. You thank them without handing over control of your life. As your strength returns, you watch who remains. Those who truly want you to win are proud when you no longer need saving. They respect your independence. They celebrate your clarity. Those who disappear were never invested in your growth. They were invested in your dependence. That realization doesn't require anger. It requires maturity. The Stoic understands this and moves forward quietly, because the goal of life is not to be constantly supported, it is to become self-governed. Anyone who only stands beside you when you are weak has already shown you the limits of their loyalty. You don't condemn them for it. You simply stop building your future around their presence. 5. They plant doubt right before your big move. Notice the timing, not the words themselves, but when they appear. You're about to make a decision, a calculated one, something you've thought through carefully. A career shift, a new discipline, a boundary you finally decided to enforce. And suddenly, they speak up. Are you sure this is the right time? I just don't want you to rush. What if it doesn't work out? On the surface, it sounds like concern. It's often delivered calmly, even gently, but the doubt arrives at a very specific moment, right before momentum turns into action. Stoic philosophy teaches us to study patterns, not intentions. Intention can be claimed. Timing cannot. People who genuinely want you to win may question your plan, but they do so with clarity and respect. They ask once. They listen to your reasoning, then they step back. But those who don't want you to move forward repeat the doubt. They circle it. They revisit it. They reopen the question after you've already answered it. Why? Because your action threatens stability, not yours, but theirs. As long as you're planning, dreaming, or considering, nothing changes. But the moment you act, the hierarchy shifts. If you succeed, the old dynamic breaks. If you fail, they get relief. So doubt becomes a tool, not to protect you, but to slow you down. This shows up constantly in modern life. A friend discourages you from applying until things feel more certain. Someone questions your discipline right when you finally feel consistent. They warn you about risk, but never about regret. Stoicism reminds us that fear often disguises itself as wisdom, especially when it comes from people who are afraid to move themselves. The Stoic response is not rebellion, it is discernment. You ask one quiet question: is this advice rooted in experience or in fear? Then you limit access. Not everyone earns a vote in your decisions. Not everyone deserves insight into your next step. You don't argue. You don't defend your plan. You don't try to convince them of your readiness, because conviction does not require consensus. Marcus Aurelius wrote that if something is right, it should be done without hesitation, regardless of applause or doubt. The Stoic understands this deeply. You consult wisdom, you test your reasoning, and once clarity arrives, you move calmly, deliberately, without announcing it. Those who wanted to see you win will adjust. Those who wanted you to stay still will reveal themselves. Either way, you gain clarity, because doubt that appears only when you're about to rise was never meant to protect you. It was meant to keep you exactly where you are. 6. They gossip about others, which means they'll gossip about you. Pay attention to how a friendship bonds. Is it built on shared values or shared judgment? Some connections grow stronger through criticism. Talking about co-workers, mocking mutual acquaintances, analyzing people who aren't present. At first, it feels like trust. They're opening up. They're letting you in. But Stoic philosophy urges caution here. How someone speaks about others in private is not harmless habit. It is a preview. If they casually disrespect people who aren't in the room, they're rehearsing how they'll speak about you when you're gone. This isn't about moral perfection. Everyone vents occasionally. The difference lies in pattern and pleasure. Do they seem energized by gossip? Do conversations stall unless someone else is being criticized? Do they frame judgment as just being honest? That isn't honesty. That's indulgence. Gossip creates a false sense of closeness. It bonds people through superiority, not respect. And superiority is unstable. Eventually, someone has to become the next subject. In modern life, this shows up everywhere. Group chats where someone is always being analyzed. Workplace conversations disguised as concern. Friends who know everyone's secrets and enjoy repeating them. Stoicism places enormous value on character when no one is watching. Integrity is not what you say in public. It is what you choose not to say in private. A person who enjoys lowering others will eventually lower you too, not out of malice, but out of habit. The Stoic response is restraint. You don't join the circle. You don't correct them aggressively. You don't try to prove you're different. You simply refuse to participate. You change the subject. You stay silent, or you excuse yourself. Over time, something revealing happens. People who rely on gossip for connection lose interest in you. They feel uncomfortable, exposed, and that distance is information. Friends who want you to win don't need to bond through disrespect. They can sit with silence. They can speak without tearing others down. Marcus Aurelius warned that spending time fixated on the faults of others distracts us from improving our own soul. The Stoic understands this. You don't build closeness by sharing contempt. You build it through shared standards. When you notice someone constantly dissecting people behind their backs, you don't argue with them. You simply remember. 7. They miss the old version of you. At some point you change, not suddenly, not loudly, but steadily. You become more disciplined, you protect your time, you stop explaining yourself, you choose calm over chaos. That's when certain friends begin to feel uncomfortable. They don't say they dislike the new you. Instead, they reminisce. You used to be more fun. You've changed. I miss how you were before. On the surface, it sounds sentimental, almost affectionate, but underneath it is resistance. They don't miss you. They miss the version of you that was easier to predict, easier to influence, easier to pull back into old habits. The old version didn't challenge them, didn't set boundaries, didn't force them to question their own choices. Stoic philosophy teaches that growth is not optional, it is a duty. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that becoming better would naturally disturb those committed to comfort. Progress exposes stagnation, and not everyone welcomes that mirror. When someone repeatedly tries to pull you back into who you were, they're trying to preserve a dynamic that no longer serves you. This shows up clearly in daily life. You stop drinking late, and they pressure you to just this once. You focus on your work, and they accuse you of being distant. You speak less, and they say you've become cold. But maturity often looks cold to those addicted to noise. The Stoic response is not apology. You do not need to justify your evolution. You do not need permission to grow, and you do not owe anyone access to an outdated version of yourself. Change is not betrayal. Staying stagnant to protect someone else's comfort is. People who truly want you to win adapt. They respect your new standards. They may not follow, but they don't pull you backward. Those who insist you return to your old self are not nostalgic, they are threatened. The Stoic handles this quietly. You don't argue about who you used to be. You don't defend who you are becoming. 8. They drain your time and quietly sabotage your habits. Not all opposition is loud. Some of it looks friendly, casual, even well-intentioned. These friends don't criticize your discipline directly. They simply interrupt it. They call late when you've started waking up early. They invite you out right when you've committed to consistency. They frame distraction as relaxation and indulgence as balance. Because it feels harmless, you hesitate to say no. But Stoic philosophy teaches that time is not neutral. It is life itself. Anyone who repeatedly pulls you away from your structure isn't just taking your hours, they are shaping your future. Watch the pattern. They never interrupt when you're drifting. They appear when you're focused. They don't challenge your goals openly, they just make them harder to keep. A missed workout here, a late night there, a broken routine disguised as just tonight. Over time, momentum fades. This is one of the most dangerous forms of sabotage because it never looks hostile, it feels social, it feels normal. But people who want you to win respect your systems. They don't mock them, they don't test them, they don't pressure you to compromise them for entertainment. In modern life, this shows up constantly. Friends who tease you for sleeping early, people who joke about your boundaries being extreme, social circles that only feel comfortable when everyone is undisciplined together. Stoicism is clear on this point. If something repeatedly costs you peace, progress, or presence, it is too expensive, no matter how familiar it feels. The Stoic response is not resentment, it is protection. You begin to treat your time as non-negotiable. You stop explaining your schedule. You say no without guilt. Not because you are rigid, but because you are serious. Serious about your character, serious about your future, serious about the promises you made to yourself. Marcus Aurelius warned that allowing others to waste your time is allowing them to control your life. A Stoic understands this deeply. You don't need everyone to understand your discipline. You only need to honor it. When someone consistently pulls you away from what makes you stronger, you don't accuse them, you simply stop being available. Anyone who repeatedly disrupts your habits is not neutral to your progress. They are quietly working against it. 9. They are never truly proud of you. This one is quiet, and because it's quiet, it's often the hardest to accept. You share good news, not to boast, not to seek praise, but to let someone close to you know what's happening in your life. Something feels off. They smile, but it doesn't reach their eyes. They nod, but their energy feels distant. They respond quickly, then redirect the conversation back to themselves. There is no warmth, no curiosity, no genuine pride. At first you tell yourself it's nothing. They're tired, they're distracted, they don't know how important this is to you. But the pattern repeats. Every milestone is met with emotional distance. Every achievement is acknowledged, but never celebrated. Every step forward is treated as neutral information. Stoic philosophy asks us to confront reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. People who want you to win feel something when you do. They don't need to exaggerate it. They don't need to announce it. But there is a quiet sincerity in their response. When that sincerity is missing, it means something. Often, it means your success creates discomfort. Not because you did something wrong, but because your growth highlights what they haven't faced in themselves. Your discipline reflects their avoidance. Your courage reminds them of risks they never took. Your progress forces comparison. Rather than confront it, they disengage. Not hostile, not supportive, just emotionally neutral. This appears everywhere. A friend who changes the subject every time you succeed. Someone who listens politely, then immediately talks about their own struggles. A person who never asks follow-up questions about what matters most to you. They aren't attacking you, they're protecting themselves from discomfort. Stoicism teaches us that disappointment often comes from misplaced expectation. We assume closeness guarantees support. We assume history guarantees pride, but neither does. The Stoic response is acceptance, not bitterness, not confrontation. Acceptance. You stop expecting emotional nourishment where it has never been offered. You stop sharing victories with people who cannot hold them without resentment. You stop mistaking familiarity for alignment. This doesn't mean cutting everyone off. It means adjusting expectations to reality. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that peace comes from seeing people clearly, not from forcing them to be different. Some people can walk beside you, some can walk behind you, and some can only walk with you as long as you don't outgrow them. A Stoic understands this without anger. You don't need everyone to be proud of you. You need clarity about who truly is. You don't need to confront everyone who doesn't want you to win. You don't need explanations, arguments, or dramatic exits. Stoicism teaches something far more powerful: standards. Once you see the patterns, you adjust access. Once you see the truth, you stop negotiating with it, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Some people are only comfortable with you when you stay small. Others quietly disappear when you grow. Let them. Protect your time, protect your habits, protect your peace.